Hey guys, welcome back. So earlier this week we made this painting of my cat Panther, and the frame that I plan to use for this guy has room for another picture, and so we're going to do his sister Sassy today. Sassy is a black and white kind of tuxedo kind of vibe, and so today we are going to be talking about my process while I paint her, and maybe I'll yap a little bit too, but we're going to go ahead and tape up so I can do the background. And while I do that, I will kind of speed run through all of the inking process. So let's get into that really quickly. Okay, so now that that's done, we are up to date. I'm going to go ahead and start with the background here. For my painting of Panther, I went ahead and used kind of a dull gray with some greens and some browns, because that's what was in the background of the reference photo that I was using. Here is the reference photo for today. I'll keep it up here on the side the whole time. As you can see, this reference photo is a little bit more green in the background, but I'm not going to do that because I want it to merge nicely and look nice in a frame with the Panther one. So we're going to do a very similar background that I did for Panther. So like I said, we're going to use some grays and some greens and some browns. So I'm going to go ahead and get into that right now. I've got a nice big brush. This is the one that I typically use for filling in backgrounds. Should not be too difficult. It holds water pretty well. It lays down color pretty nicely. So I've got some water off to the side here, and we can get right into that. So for gray, I've got some leftovers from my last painting that I made, and I'll just probably use what I've got here. So I've got a nice warm gray color already that I can just start throwing down, and I can mix more if I need to. I've got that down. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna let this dry a little, and then we are gonna pull the tape, and I'm gonna leave this top piece just so that it stays in one spot while I'm painting. And then we can start the foreground here. So I will go ahead and let this dry, and then I will be right back. All right, so this is now dry in the background, so I can remove the tape and we can get started. So if you remember from the last video, one of the tricks that I like to do to help me kind of figure out what colors I need to put down as a base coat is I will bump up the saturation of my sample so that I can see what colors are underneath the especially really dark parts of black. And so I've done that on my reference photo. Here's what that looks like to me. And you can see that we've got very orange here, and there's not as much blue purples as there was in Panther at a different time of day when this photo was taken. But I can do some blues and some purples in here so that this stays nice and bright, and we'll do blue and purple shadows just to make sure that that orange stands out. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in some of those colors now. Still using my big brush because I'm not really trying to be very particular right now. We're going to just mix up what I've got here, and we'll make some fresh color as well. Nothing too crazy. I'm just making a nice bright yellowy orange for myself. I'm also going to put in some of a blue purple. I want to put a little bit of both in this part because there is some warmth to that section, but it's not 100%. So we do have some spots of Sassy that are white. And in order to make something look white, I usually go for a blue color. And that's what I'm going to do here today. I've got some of this blue left over. That's a bit of this sky and a bit of this sky. And we're going to go ahead. That's an area that's in shadow. This is an area that's in shadow that's blue. And then in between them is not in shadow. So I'm going to take a lot of the pigment off, use a lot more water so that I can still paint that without putting down too much pigment. And then her eyes are green. So I can mix a green and some of my yellow. I'll just throw down a base coat there. So what I can do now is start coming in with some of my darker blacks. I'm going to use a smaller brush for this step. I'm scaling down to this guy. You've seen me use this guy before. This is just kind of my detail brush. And the reason I'm going down to a detail brush now is I want a little more control over my strokes in the direction that I'm putting them in. So let's mix up a nice shadow color. Once again, my shadows are more on the purple blue side. The spots that aren't in the sun. So I'm going to mix up a nice dark purpley blue. And we can put that in some of these areas. So this is all in very hard shadow. And so I'm going to go ahead and apply that here. So I can do a couple layers to make sure it's really dark, but basically where she was sitting was behind kind of a pole. And that's what this is here. It's that pole shining or casting a shadow across her face. There's going to be a nice white highlight here. A lot of this area down here is very warm. We will make what needs to be darker eventually, but I want to kind of pull everything to a similar area. So let's mix a nice warm black now. The reason for this yellow being included is the brown that I'm using is pretty red, and this yellow will take it to a more brown, more sienna kind of color. And I can put that in some of my shadow areas as well. And a lot of this is not important for the painting. You know, I want the most detail to be in the face because that's where I want the focal point to be. So some of these areas toward the bottom that are body, I'm not as concerned with brush stroke direction or being super highly detailed. It's more so at this point just kind of getting the colors and the tones right, but not too concerned with making it photorealistic. Okay, so here we can see in our reference photo especially that her fur is not really going in one direction in particular. That's fine. I'm going to come in here with a not quite as dark brown, and we're going to add in some random shapes. I need to darken up her face a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing that. Okay, so here's a fun little bit to do. I've got this ear. I don't want to leave it bright orange, but I don't want to quite paint it black. So what I'm going to do is put in some brown and let it blend out. And that's just going to give me it looks like the light is hitting it and warming it up without me having to do too much detail work to it. Just put a little bit of brown in there. The darker I make this, the more my part that's in the sun is going to stand out, which is what I want. That is going to do it for this painting stage. I'm going to let this dry. I'll come back with my white pen and we'll do some more detailing. I'm not fully done with the painting, but I want to add the white pen in some spots here so that I can tell where else needs the paint. So I'll let this dry and I'll be back in a few minutes for me and 2 seconds for you. This has had some time to dry now, and I'm going to come in with my white. This is a Uniball Signo. It's just like a gel ink white pen. I've got this one and I've got this one. They're the same pen for the most part, slightly different, but same idea either way. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some highlights. And then I mentioned to you I'm going to put highlight here. Here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to put some lines that are following the direction of the fur. And we're going to do the whiskers too. So she's got a lot of whiskers. Like I did in the other video, I'm also going to do some of these in black. That looks pretty nice. I do want to do another rim light like I have done in the past, so I'm pulling out my big Posca marker. I am going to take a nice light purple and go over some of these white lines that I've made, especially the fur highlights. I just don't want them to stand out too much, and this is going to kind of soften them up a little bit. I would say that I am happy with the way that this looks, so let's go ahead and sign it and we can get out of here. We will sign it right there like that. John Johnson II, 2026. Now it doesn't stand out too strongly, but that's perfectly fine with me. And there we go. That is going to be the finished painting. If you guys enjoy this video, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, ring the bell, share with your friends, leave a comment. All the standard YouTube things makes a huge difference for the channel. It shows YouTube that you think this is content worth sharing. And it shares it to more people, and that really helps me out a ton. YouTube thinks that you will like this video here. I like this video, so YouTube agrees with me. And then I've got this little circle here that you can click on that will take you to my channel. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.